Welcome to the Cripescast. This is the podcast where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest. We are powered by Everlight Solar, and here's this week's episode. Folks, today we are talking with filmmaker Nathan Deming, all about indie filmmaking, a bunch of it about filmmaking in Wisconsin. Nathan is from Eau Claire. He's currently based in Los Angeles. He's got a bunch of films out, but he's currently working on the Year Project. It's a 12-part series based on each month of the year, all set in Wisconsin. January has already come out, and he's now premiering February. It's about to be released, and he's got a statewide screening tour starting on January 25th, going all the way through February. I watched the film. It was very fun. It is based in Tomah, Wisconsin, and big theme in it, ice fishing. So, he had me at ice. I'll just say that. But it was great talking with Nathan. We chit-chat all about the film industry, what it's like making a film in Wisconsin versus Los Angeles, sort of the easy things, the hard things. If you're a filmmaker out there, a creative, a very interesting conversation. And then also the advantages and disadvantages that sort of a rapidly accelerating technology creates for creatives and filmmakers more broadly. Basically, AI, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it both a good and bad thing? And how do you work with it as someone who's creative? So I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Nathan. And here it is. Yeah, you're in Eau Claire right now.
I'm in Eau Claire, yeah.
And it's negative 22, huh?
That's what it was when I woke up. It's like minus 15 now, so a little freezier.
It's a balmy minus 15. Not bad ice fishing weather, though.
No, my parents live near Lake Altoona, and there's a ton of people out there right now.
Do you ice fish yourself?
I did a little bit getting into it for this movie, and I wish I had more time, but I've mainly been in LA since making it. But I like it, yeah.
So, how does that work? You've been out in LA for how long?
I've been there about 10 years now. Just, I guess, come back here to shoot when I can, which, as you know, from, I think I texted, I'm going to do some stuff with Action Wisconsin, for this tour thing. And, anyways, part of the thing I'm excited about is promoting, it'd be nice if more people could stay in Wisconsin, you know what I mean? To film things. Cause, when I got out of film school, there was just kind of not a lot, there's always opportunity here, but it was just made way more sense to go to California.
Right. And that was 10 years ago when you went, and I went. I graduated. I worked on a film in Michigan, Cedar Rapids. And then I went out to LA when I was 22 or something, because there wasn't really the opportunity in Wisconsin. And then now it seems like with social media, obviously there's sort of opportunity everywhere, but to do filmed, Wisconsin, it's possible in Wisconsin, but what kind of roadblocks do you run up against?
Well, even I have a feature I've been pitching lately that, the first question the producers will ask, you want to shoot this in Wisconsin, and you're like, there's no tax credits, and it's like they won't even consider it, and you're like, that's such a bummer, Okay,
so let's back this up and let's just kind of explain it for people who don't. I think people hear tax credits and all that, but they don't really understand how it works. So how does it kind of prohibit movies from being shot in Wisconsin?
Well, I don't know the full history of this, but the way it's been working for a while now is that states will offer up incentives for Hollywood to come shoot there, right? And then that sounds maybe like Hollywood taking advantage of you, but it's actually really smart. And that's how Georgia built a really good film industry, and a ton of stuff is filmed there now. And we're one of 13 states that don't do that. And so, one of the first questions producers ask is where you want to shoot it, because if you shoot in, even Minnesota has good tax credits, and so we're just losing jobs to them. That if the film comes into town, it also helps local businesses. A little mini city usually gets set up right when you're filming, and great for the local economy, and also just great for the culture. You never know what movie's going to pop off, and then years later, everybody's like, "Oh, I got to drive to Fargo, so I see Fargo," like in person.
Right.
Like, yeah,
right. Yeah, I think it's I think it's sort of important to have Wisconsin as kind of the backdrop, because it kind of becomes like another character in the film, and it helps you tell like a more authentic story about like the place, the people that we all love, the culture that we love, and having the actual place there really solidifies it. Like, I love The Great Outdoors, with John Candy and everything, and that's supposed to take place in Wisconsin. But when they're water skiing on the lake, you can clearly see mountains in the background. So it just takes you out of it. And I think you don't really associate that movie with Wisconsin as much as you just say it's an outdoor thing. But I think if they shot it in Wisconsin, you'd kind of associate it more. And it just like helps you take control more of the storytelling and the story that you're trying to tell of Wisconsin, as opposed to leaving it like in the hands of people who are going to shoot a Wisconsin movie in Georgia. It just helps with the authenticity, the realness.
Yeah, and those little details, I think they do matter. Like, did you see the Dahmer TV show that came out like a year or two ago?
I saw the first episode, and then I was like, I don't know that I need to watch this whole thing.
Yeah, it's a little grim, but yeah, you'd think that'd be something they have to. I mean, if we have anything, we have a lot of serial killers in our history in Wisconsin.
We do. Yeah. Well, those are the stories that are left being told. Those are the things that they do shoot here, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, we have better stories than that. But yeah, they shot most of it in LA, and I had a job for a bit where I was like helping with location scouting and stuff. And they shot. I mean. And then I watched the show and I was like, oh, that's Altadena. That's Pasadena. You just realized that.
Maybe that's not a great example, because I'm fine with that not being associated.
Yeah.
But,
that's fine,
but all the non-serial killer ones, you can't just shoot documentaries here about serial killers. That's not what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
But hopefully, because at one point there were tax credits in Wisconsin there when they shot Public Enemies here. That's like the film that I remember. But then I think that there was, I don't know what happened, but they stopped doing it after that point. So anyway, long story short, it would be great if I think it's a pretty bipartisan deal. Like, I think people want things to be shot here. I think it creates jobs. I think all that sort of stuff. I'm sure there are some downsides, but I think it would be. I'm not sure what they are after trying to suss it out a little bit on my end.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, let's sort of step back from that. And what are you working on right now?
So I finished my last film I just did was called February, and it's part of this larger series I'm doing that I'm calling the Year Project, based on the months of the year. I want to make a film for every month of the year, all set in Wisconsin, and I want this deliberately to take like 10 or 15 years of my life. No matter what else I'm doing, I'll always come back and make these films like kind of expressly for Wisconsin. I think we have so much culture here, so much stories to tell. And also, I mean, the seasons are so strong here. I think it's just a good framework for that. So February, I'm taking on the road in February, right now when this episode drops. And just going to go around the state, hopefully connect with people and hear their own experiences about how they feel about this month and this time of year, which is not my favorite, but fun to put on film, I guess. So, yeah.
Well, I think you captured at least. The movie is very beautifully shot. It's very real. It feels good and fun, and kind of it's got that somewhat depressing February thing, and it's got a lot of the seasonal depression aspects in it. Nothing like being woken up by a plow truck before your alarm goes off.
For sure.
But it's a really cool film, and obviously it centers on ice fishing. And where did the inspiration for this film come from? And what was like your motivator for focusing on this aspect of February?
That's, I think, the fun thing about the months is that as a starting point, it's like really fun. I have just a lot of Wisconsin stories I'd love to tell, and then the months you get to filter them down and then think about, like, to me, February is about the doldrums. That's my starting point. I remember this time in high school. I grew up in Toma, Wisconsin. If you heard of Toma, Toma?
I've been to Toma. I've stayed in Toma many times.
Oh, okay, great. Busiest McDonald's in the state. That's our claim to fame.
It's a place a lot of people stop. We'll put it to you that way.
Yeah. So I just remember that we didn't see the sun for like the entire month, and I was like, this is nuts. And you're like 2 months past the holiday. Winter's kind of exciting at the beginning of it, but by the time February rolls around, usually I'm like, okay, this is looking forward to March. And this is my first winter in a while, because I came back for the holidays and then for this tour, and I've been in LA, and I forgot a lot of things. Like, just I've had post-nasal drip like the entire, like, I haven't been sick, you know what I mean? But just out of nowhere, you just like, it's just like, I forgot that feeling. So starting with how that month feels for everybody, I also want to tell stories about Wisconsin that maybe haven't been told completely yet. And I feel like first I got really into ice fishing, and then also I started thinking about like the kind of group that isn't normally focused on, which is Latinos, which I think is the fastest growing population in Wisconsin. And I've even heard that it's like unsubstantiated, but they might make up more than half of the dairy force now. So like they're a huge part of our state and our economy, but they're still kind of, I guess, invisible, sort of, or at least that's how, I don't know, Wisconsin culture, you don't see them a lot. So I thought it'd be really interesting to tell a story from a perspective that you don't normally see. So that's how we started then to focus on an immigrant family, which is the story. It's about an immigrant struggling to fit in until he finds ice fishing, which I guess that's too an experience I've had. I've moved several times, and there's always, in my own small way, I don't know how it was for you when you first moved to LA, but it takes a little bit to adjust until you find a little bit of home, you know what I mean? And Miguel knows fishing. He just doesn't know ice fishing yet. And then that's kind of what unlocks him.
Right. Nice. So, and then what did you do to kind of like get it to feel as authentic as possible? Obviously, you grew up white in Wisconsin. So to get that sort of immigrant experience, what kind of work did you do from like a writing and directing perspective?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's something I want to do with all my characters always, right? Is like try to, one of my biggest film inspirations is this British director, Mike Leigh. Have you heard of him? Are you familiar with his films?
Update me if I don't.
Some people have heard of him here, some people haven't. He's a really big British director. Some of his biggest films are Secrets and Lies, Naked, Vera Drake. And I went to the London Film School because he was the head of it at the time I was there, and because I was just I didn't even know I could go to film school in London. And then he was one of my favorite directors. Turns out he was heading up a school. His whole ethos was kind of in the school. And anyways, his films are just, they're so fascinating. They're kind of the closest to real life of any filmmaker I can think of. He's just the master at finding drama in a reality. And then as you meet the characters, you always feel too like you're watching fully developed people, right? Like you can see that they're worried about their taxes or their bills. Most film is like condensing things to just show you parts of the character that fit for the story, right? So anyways, he gives you these raw, unfiltered people that part of the fun of watching his movies then is like figuring out every detail. It really is like you lifted up a roof on a house and you're like just suddenly spying on people and hearing what's going on. So anyways, I want to approach all my work hopefully with that amount of reality. And in this case, yeah, it was really interesting. I worked with the actors a lot. I had a Hispanic co-writer who, well, like uncredited, he helped me with the Spanish and stuff, and he didn't want to be credited, but he helped me translate the Spanish dialogue, and then also like helped me clued into certain cultural things. And also I have a lot of Latino friends that've been in LA for 10 years now, but really it was the actors. And then I should also shout out my production designer, who's also Latino, and everybody contributing and like letting them run with it and tell their story as much as I was telling the story I wanted to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you sort of, it's a collaboration with everybody. Yeah. In other words, you kind of put up the framework, and then was there like a lot of like, I guess, was there any sort of improv stuff on set that allowed like that to come through and all that? Or were some of these experiences, the lead character works at a hotel, another is in construction, you know, so were there kind of what were they allowing those stories to be told from like personal experiences, or where did all those kind of come from?
Yeah, like David is the lead, and his parents immigrated from Mexico. I mean, he grew up in California, but he brought a lot to his role. And I think also, I mean, the starting point for the Wisconsin stuff was just like reviewing Toma a little bit and seeing where people worked. And also my old boss, I used to work at the Toma Public Library. Shout out to the Toma Public Library. And
nice. Nice.
My old boss is Latino, and she kind of opened my eyes. She was actually kind of an early inspiration for this, because she's kind of opened my eyes as an 18-year-old to like, hey, there's more people here than just, you know, your white farm kids, even though that, you know, it's a pretty white, Toma was pretty white.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting film, and cool to show like the different parts of Wisconsin you don't like immediately think of. What was the reaction to the film when you finished it and put it out?
Well, we premiered at the Wisconsin Film Festival in Madison last April, and then have been kind of cooking up this, waiting for February to cook up this way to share it with people across Wisconsin. But yeah, no, it was really fun. We won a Golden Badger, and that's the prize they have there, which is pretty cool.
Nice, congrats.
It's a spray painted Bucky. It's really fun. And in Europe they have like, you know, it's like a golden lion, but in Wisconsin, golden badger. And yeah, no, so far, it's been really nice, like how people have responded to it. And I think also people like just love seeing their part of the world on film, you know, and Wisconsin, we're getting more movies, Green and Gold, which I know you're in, right?
Yeah. I've got a
Green
role
and Gold.
That.
Yeah. So like there's stuff being made here, but I think people are always excited about actually seeing stuff that pops off.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And so what sort of your journey? You started in you grew up in Toma, and then were you always into film? Did you grow up shooting films on the side, like digital camcorder style? Were you making your own stuff? How did it go?
Yeah, I did. Did you as well? Were you making skits and stuff?
Not really. No, I was more into music when I was like growing up, and I was like, you know, I had bands and stuff, but sort of that creative, itch, obviously. I was like writing a lot, and I didn't get into comedy until a little bit later in life. And then from comedy, I got more into making videos. But yeah, did you like, what were you shooting on as a kid?
Yeah, digital camcorder. I mean, I started out, it was like my dad's like big VHS, you know, camcorder or whatever. Yeah. Until I think I broke it. I don't remember exactly what happened. But eventually got a cheaper like those mini DV tapes, if you remember those. Yeah, those. Oh, I love those. They still make me very happy. Those little tapes. And yeah, we just shoot. Sometime I remember in middle school, my teachers were like, okay, you can write like an essay about this science thing, or, you know, this book, or you can make a video. And I was always like, oh, we can make a video. And then my big masterpiece was I made a nearly feature length adaptation of Julius Caesar. All my friends in not bathrobes, bed sheets, and they actually. I don't know why they let us do this. I think it was when Tommy Thompson was governor, but they let us film in the Capitol the Julius Caesar stabbing scene.
Really?
So, yeah. So we a group of Toma high schoolers drove down and then for 2 hours stabbed Caesar repeatedly in the Capitol and then drove back. So yeah, I don't know. It was so much fun growing up making films in Wisconsin. Because there's a lot of barns, open fields. Just your imagination. You could shoot westerns. You can kind of shoot whatever you want.
Yeah, it is definitely cool to take advantage of the scenery, which if you were to do it in LA, you'd have to spend so much time on set design and everything. But in Wisconsin, it just kind of exists. So
yeah, and money, right? Because in Wisconsin, you know a friend, of course, who's got a barn or a warehouse or something, that's just sitting there, or you could just sneak in,
Yeah. Yeah. People enjoy it. They think it's cool. And it's not always oh, you want to shoot here? That'll be $1,000 an hour kind of a thing.
Oh, that still was alive when we filmed February. Yeah. Cause I had just filmed something previously in LA and then, everything. God bless LA, but it was everybody would charge for everything, right? And then in Wisconsin, that hotel we shot at, we didn't pay for the hotel. The owners were just super nice. They were just oh, come on in, And,
that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of your tax credit right there, I guess.
That's true. We still need it though. We still need it.
we do need it. Yeah. I mean, if you want, bigger films to be shot there, but the idea of doing it on your own and just making the kind of stuff you want to make, it's definitely, I've found that's the way to go. Is that what you found in your career? Or did you, after film school, go out to LA and were you hired right away, or did you just start making your own stuff?
No, and I just had kind of a funny experience because the European model of things is just so different. And even now it's changed. But, I had friends that went back to their home countries that had really great tax credits, but also funding schemes. If you want to make a movie in Norway, the government has a program where you can apply to get your movie made and they'll fund it up to a certain amount, and it's still competitive, but we just have nothing like that here. So yeah, I definitely moved out to LA, threw myself into the deep end of just working every set I could, to network and make more connections. And, eventually decided that, I think, a big part of my film journey is always kind of staying true to what I want to do and, make the films I want to make. So I ended up putting a lot of my time and resources into a feature that ended up shooting back in Chicago and a little bit of Wisconsin. But that was kind of the big, a big learning experience. And it was fun. And it's out on Amazon now. People can check it out. It's called Speaking in Tongues. But it was, I think it also validated me wanting to kind of go my own path. I'm still, pitching things to get kind of a more Hollywood thing going, but I also really love the indie filmmaker route, and there's less rules, and it's so fun when you go to big film festivals and take your film on the road. It's really fun, the collaboration you meet and just kind of the creativity that's more free.
Yeah, definitely. And so you go out there and right away, did you just start working on your own film, or did you get a job and then start doing that on the side? For people who are kind of interested in going out and doing it, what's sort of a pathway that they could find?
Oh man, I don't even know what I'd say now, because it's just it's changed so much. And do you still live in LA, or are you mainly in Wisconsin now?
I haven't. I lived there 2 periods in my life, but I moved back to Wisconsin in 2018 or something like that.
Yeah,
and then I kind of had a place out there, my buddy's place, that I would go, and I had my stuff for another 2 years. But then during COVID, I just was over it. So,
well, that's the thing. I think COVID changed the city so much. I mean, it's been a brutal time for the film industry there, for not necessarily for the studios. They're still making a lot of money, but If you've been reading the news this year, there's a lot of articles about people like fleeing Hollywood and like the below the line people, which is really depressing. So I don't know what the best thing is right now. Yeah, if they should move out there, because when I moved there, it was 2014. Tons of stuff still shooting. It was very easy to get on a film set and network and meet people. But most people I know now are out of work back in LA, and the ones that are very count your blessings, very happy for the work. So yeah, I don't know what advice I would give people right now.
Excuse the interruption, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to let you know the Cripescast is presented and powered by Everlight Solar. This Cripescast studio has been powered by Everlight Solar for a few years, and I got to tell you guys, you save money and you help save the planet. It's good stuff. If you're a regular Cripescast listener, you know I like both those things. I'm cheap and a hippie. So go to everlightsolar.com for a free consultation. See how solar panels can work for your place. And also, folks, Valentine's Day. Oh, it is right around the corner, and there is no better way to tell someone I love you than with some Midwest merch. We got Watch Out for Deer. That's love right there, guys. Tell your folks I says hi. We got the Barron's Old Fashioned Brandy Muskie glasses. Those are back in stock. Midwest Survival Guide. We got tickets to shows and more. Check it out, mantalkmint.com. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to my conversation with Nathan Deming. Let's talk about that. Like, what has created the changes in the film industry? Obviously, social media has sort of changed the game of where people are consuming videos, and a lot of people are going more short form in that regard. But when it comes to film, what has happened to the industry since 2014 that's made it much more difficult?
Yeah, I'd be interested on your thoughts too. But I mean, just since COVID, there's been huge changes to the industry. I mean, first of all, COVID completely, obviously, interrupted the production pipeline, right? And I think people outside the industry don't always know how long a movie takes, because whenever a movie shows up, it always feels so immediate and fresh, and as if it just popped. It just like popped into the director's head and is now in front of you. But they probably started writing it 5 years before, and then it didn't even get into production until 2 years later, 3 years later. And so anyways, all the production got slowed down. Then we had multiple strikes, which were all important, but, also I think affected the amount of work getting done. And they thought after the strikes, things would kind of rebound, and they haven't yet. And there's the looming threat of AI. There's the already present threat of streaming. And like you mentioned, like YouTube Shorts and TikTok, maybe if it sticks around, I guess. So we don't know yet. But, yeah, there's just so many changes, and I think some of it's really exciting. Like, my film probably looks a lot better for the budget we had than if I had made it 20 years ago, because we were able to shoot on really good digital cameras that have streamlined a lot of the process. Where 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, it would have been like this whole nother skill set of technicians and people that would need to be involved, because you'd be shooting on actual film, So there's opportunity, but I think things are just changing so much. And then on top of it, there's more indie filmmakers than ever selling to distributors. So I don't know. It's changed a lot, and there's opportunity, but also I think everybody, even the studios, are what's the right way forward right now? I mean, there were as many bombs as hits last year, right? Like, there were gigantic hits, and then a lot of movies that made no money.
Yeah, and you bring up a few things in there, and one of them is sort of technology, and it's a double-edged sword. It's easier for you to shoot on a lower budget, but on the other side of it, it's hard to know where to invest your money today that's going to be effective in 2 years when the film actually comes out. Taking into effect AI, a lot of the strikes you mentioned centered around artificial intelligence and its role in the entertainment industry. What is your viewpoint on AI and how it's going to affect movies?
Oh, man. I mean, there's those doom and gloom people that are predicting that, instead of going to bed, turning on Netflix, that maybe you could turn on Netflix plus, well, you know what? I want to see Lord of the Rings with Star Wars characters, or something, you know what I mean? And then suddenly, this is the future, right? It's not right now, but suddenly AI makes you some movie that's interesting. Who knows? I mean, it's already like I just remember 3 years ago the first AI art was coming out. I think it was the first Dolly thing, and it was, I don't know if you guys remember, it was pretty silly looking, the results, and now you can still tell it's AI, but it's getting better. I mean, this was in a couple of years. So I have no idea. I still think, and I hold on to the hope that art is the most interesting between humans and not between just some digital thing that's like, because I'm not if I'm creating my own movie like that, like not me the filmmaker, but me as like I'm laying in my bed and like got AI Netflix on or something like that in the future, it's not necessarily giving me anything new, right? Where like, I think that's what the best artists do is they challenge you. And like David Lynch, who just passed, I mean, I can't imagine some AI coming along who has as much, intuition or things to say about the human condition. I don't know. Do you think it'll change things, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really brings into the question of what makes humans sort of special, I guess, and when you have sort of an entity that takes in these large language models, taking all the language that's ever been written and sort of spits out another creation of that in various ways. You kind of say, what do humans have that machine doesn't have? And that would be kind of like those things like a soul, a will, like love, those kinds of aspects. And really good films have those front and center. And so I think it's like, how will people demand that though? And I think the more we get taken into these sort of machines and sort of sucked into our phones, you can see it all over culture. We've sort of become a little bit less human and a little bit more robotic, just kind of always being sucked into those screens. So I'm hoping that people will kind of like realize that and still prefer those very human qualities and push it. I also think we're going to be fighting against the very human urge for things to be immediate and quick and path of least resistance. So it will be interesting. I don't have any real answers on it. But, I just think it will come down to people demanding that we still have humanity in all this technology.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of Brave New World, right? And like, I'd still prefer, I mean, the January and February that I just made, not all the films are going to have this theme, but they both have themes and characters like with loneliness, I don't know what place AI is going to be in to know that or resonate with that, And then also the other difference I was thinking of while you're mentioning is we have bodies, right? We have a physical presence in the world that is shaped by our surroundings, and our lives are often responding to it too, which is another thing I want to explore with this time format, just because our environment affects us and it affects the art we make. If somebody you love dies, if you fall in love, all these things, that's where a lot of art comes from. It's just hard to picture what meaningful art will come from at the end of the 21st century when they look back. Are they going to be citing, and then ChatGPT wrote the best book of the century? I don't know. It's hard to picture that happen.
Yeah, I know that's a little, that's just kind of tough to think about right there. But, you look at even things in your film, when your main character is just sitting there, you talk about loneliness and he's super into his phone. And then what finally breaks him of that is seeing the ice fishing stuff and then finding this and having that very real connection with his other ice fishing buddy. I think that shows a lot of hope for humanity in this sort of world where we are lonely. And so we turn to technology for those quick dopamine hits, So it's cool that you showcase that in your film, and hopefully that's, the way people go. I think the inherent problem is that the kind of like little robots, we have a hard time seeing what's happening to us because we're so distracted by the thing that's doing it to us. You know, we're always on our phone and therefore seeking out that quick dopamine hit. And therefore we're not able to observe that, like, if you go to the gym or something, it's like a bunch of people walking around in silence because they all have their headphones on. You know, it's a little scary, but how many of us are pulling back to observe that is happening because we're also so distracted?
Well, that was another jumping off point for at least these two films, was just the way community has changed in my lifetime. Because January is set in a church I grew up in. I'm not really religious now, but I have a lot of affection for this like friendly Midwest church I grew up in. And when I was a kid, it was thousands of people, and now I think might be less than 100. You know what I mean? And it's not because the town shrank or anything. And I mean, part of that's just people leaving the religion and stuff. But I think a huge part of it is like a lot of our lives are just, moving online. And I mean, a couple of years ago, I was substitute teaching for a little bit and noticing completely different world than the high school I went to. You know what I mean? Like, because the kids, they'll have these things in, you know, they'll have AirPods in or their phones. And I just can't imagine, like, because I've felt it in my life, how, kind of separating it is, right? Like, you go to the gym, you don't talk to anybody, or you can, whatever, you know, it's just different. It's all different. And I guess we're still learning about how to balance all these things.
Yeah, I think it will just take very deliberate, it's going to take deliberate choices on behalf of people to maintain humanity. It's going to be the deliberate choice to do that, because the path of least resistance is, you know, we're going to transform. We are like the caterpillar, you know, and we're going to just become a bunch of AI butterflies. That might be, you know, that's what it seems like, dude.
Yeah, that might be.
And that seems like a very natural way for this progression. I don't know. There's some wild stuff, like, you can kind of go deep down the rabbit hole on, but I think the bottom line is, like, we have to decide if we like humans and humanity and embrace that intentionally, because the money is going to go the other way, and the forces that be are pushing us that way. So,
yeah, well, that's another reason I want to do this series over 15 years or so, right? Like, we're in such kind of crazy times in a million ways, like what we're just describing politically, you know, culturally. I'm really interested to find what does stick, you know what I mean, over the years, what stories or just aspects of our lives don't change. Because that's usually like the books and movies I like. They're from completely different time periods, often in the same kind of upheaval or confusion. But there's something there that's universal, you know, that keeps you like, you know, why do we read Pride and Prejudice? You know, it's like 200 years ago in a completely different world, but I guess the themes are, you know, relevant enough.
Yeah, definitely. And what's sort of your timeline for, you said over the next 15 years, so you're working on March right now?
Yeah, I have March written, some hopeful plan to actually get that one shot by the end of the year. But I'm kind of really focused on this feature now. So that's the idea, is that no matter what else I'm doing in my career, I can always come back, hopefully every other year, every few years, make one of these month films and hopefully get Wisconsin audiences into it.
That's cool. What lake did you guys shoot on?
Lake Altoona in Eau Claire.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
That was... We haven't talked much yet about Richie, he plays the ice fisherman. He found him on Craigslist. He's not an actor. And he was like...
Was that his truck too?
No, that we did rent that truck. But the fishing gear is mostly his. Like, I was getting ready to rent fishing gear, and then he was like, I got all this stuff. And I was like, okay, we'll just use that. And but he was so funny because we were shooting on Altoona, and he kept going, there's crappy fish in this lake. There's nothing here. And I was like, it's a movie, man. It doesn't, people don't need to know we're actually filming on Lake Altoona. But and that was, I don't know if have you done any videos or anything out on the ice where you've had like cars and stuff out there?
Yeah. I was actually just out on Winnebago the other day, and I was about a mile out on the ice, 3 miles out, actually.
It's kind of surreal, right? It's like, especially when you have like the film attitude, you know what I mean? Because set life, or whatever you want to call it, set culture, sometimes makes things feel like you're not really there or you're not in danger of things, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the same time, you have to plan for like, no, this is all very real. We're standing and the truck is parked on 2 feet of ice, which I'm told is very safe. But at the same time, we have to be worried about everybody. And if it goes in, what do we possibly do on a small indie film, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure your insurance senses were tingling quite a bit there.
Yeah.
So you must have shot it. We haven't had good ice in Wisconsin for years. So you must have shot it, what, three years ago?
No, 2 years ago. Because last year was I heard, because I was back in LA, that was like the really bad winter, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize how lucky I got shooting. I think it was 2023, February. Yeah, we got lucky with the.
Oh yeah, you got very lucky, because I don't think that ice lasted too long that year, if I remember correctly.
Well, even by the end of the shoot, we were filming in like exteriors in the city, and it got up to 50 randomly, you know. So
Yep, it'll do that. We broke the weather. But, and then did you guys actually catch a trout in that lake?
No comment. That's movie magic right there. What happened there?
I was like, I didn't know that they had trout in there. That's fun. So, but yeah, the idea of bringing all, an entire crew out there on how long was that shoot? Was that just for a night?
Well, we had multiple days. I mean, the inside the ice fishing tent is in a garage, right? Like we did that. We were smart about that, but we still had to set up. We had exteriors with that. We had all the driving scenes. We had, the drilling and stuff, and multiple days. And then we got out there and we, had all this worry about it, all this like extra precautions. And then we're out there, and for a minute, I was like looking through the viewfinder, and I was like, it looks like we're in the middle of a field. Will people know or care that this is like a real lake? And of course, once the auger goes through and you see like water come up, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You probably could have faked it, but yeah, people, I think definitely, your ice fishermen would definitely know. Yeah. They'd be able to spot that.
For sure.
But that's very cool. So, and then you said you're working on a feature right now. What's the feature you're working on?
Sorry, I can't mention it yet because I'm trying to. We're trying to secure financing, and I'm not supposed to talk about it. Which sounds
no worries.
Lame. It sounds lame of me to say, but that's the state it's in. So yeah,
I get it. I noticed in February that you had a few different brands like in there. Like you shot. I think there was a Quick Trip in there. I think there was a shot of a Quick Trip.
There's Quick Trip.
Yeah.
Well, we have that one. We have a shot too that's kind of like that meme of all the signs. It's like Subway. McDonald's. Yeah. No, there was no sponsorship. I just was like, yeah, we'll just
okay.
film the reality of what That's the other change in my lifetime. I feel like, at least in Toma, was kind of a thriving small city in its own way. And then over 20 years, the Walmart got built by the interstate, and then like this explosion of just chains and then everything just got sucked there, and things got closed down.
Yeah. That's kind of the, again, that's sort of the path of least resistance always follows the money. So it's like making deliberate choices in order to sort of keep like the culture and all of that there and present. So, which is what you're doing with this film. And where can people see it through the month of February?
So we're going all over Wisconsin. If you go to februaryfilm.com/screenings, that's our full roster, but we're hitting up everywhere. We're hitting Richland Center,
Nice.
Alma, Oshkosh, Appleton, Madison, Milwaukee. Like, we're going everywhere. I tried to fill out as much as the state as I could. And I'm actually really excited for the smaller screenings because I found so many cool older theaters, like Stanley, Wisconsin. We're having a screening. It's like this great old town theater that's been family owned for like 50 years. So that's been kind of a fun part of it too. But yeah, all our screenings are there. They're all free. I'm going to be at all of them, getting people psyched about the month of February, ice fishing, and hopefully also provoking a little conversation about, like Latinos in our state and their contributions. Like we're kind of having a big premiere in Eau Claire on the 1st. And that Q&A is also going to be kind of a talk shared by a Latino professor from UW Eau Claire. So that should be really fun.
Oh, very cool, man. Is the film finished and finalized?
All done. Yeah. So
nice.
Going out there. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And what's that process like? Like, do you have to submit it to the place X amount of months before in order to get it on four-walled?
Well, this is kind of new to me. I mean, the normal path you do is film festivals, right? And that is a process that I think people also don't know is like, that takes years. It takes like 6 months to hear back from a film festival. And then they have rolling admissions throughout the year. And then it's this whole thing. And we already did some film festival screenings and had a great time at the Wisconsin Film Festival. But I was really excited about the one limitation of a film festival is that it's really exciting. It's really fun. And then you get there and maybe like a couple hundred people see it, So I'm excited about this process of actually bringing it to people. And I'm mildly inspired by / stealing an idea from Hundreds of Beavers, which I know you know that film.
Yeah.
They did this too. I have a very different film. I'm not expecting the same reaction. But what they did, I think, is really smart and a really new thing. I mean, it's old but new, which is that, if you want to connect with audiences, you can totally do this. You can just take your film around and meet people. And the technology's changed so much that now on my laptop, I can prepare the actual file a cinema would need, it's just all there for you now. So yeah, but to answer your question, I was surprised too at how easy it was once I just sent cinemas the film, or like kind of cool, like in La Crosse, we're playing at the Pump House, which is this like art center. We're doing a couple of those too. And just hearing back from them and their enthusiasm was cool. And then just setting it up in a way to make it easy for people to come. So, yeah.
Awesome. Hey, final question. We do this for everyone, but is what makes you say Cripes?
What makes me say Cripes? Well, I would like to add to that. Do you know Criminy?
Oh yeah. Criminy. That'll work too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the lead character in January, she has a lot of cranky things she says, but she says Criminy. And nobody knew what that was on set. And I was like, "You've never heard this?" Like, I know older women in my life. I grew up with like always. So people check that out. She says that a lot, Criminy. But Cripes. Right now, the fact that it's -20 outside, lame answer, but that's pretty true right now.
That's exactly what you say. Yep. As you like whenever you walk outside and your face hurts, that's definitely a Cripes moment right there.
Yeah. Because you would deal with a lot of cold in Wisconsin where you're like, oh, I can do it. Like I'll be outside for 5 minutes. I don't need to put a jacket on, but not today. Not today.
You'll lose a finger.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you coming on. This was very fun.
No, thanks for having me, man. Really nice to meet you. And thanks for shouting out our film.
Absolutely. All right. That is it for now, guys. But make sure you go check out February. It starts playing in theaters around Wisconsin, January 25th. To see if there's a screening near you, you can get tickets, februaryfilm.com/screenings. And you can also follow Nathan on Instagram. That's @Nathan.Deming. And if you're interested in learning more about Action Wisconsin and their mission to get a film office and production tax incentives in Wisconsin, visit actionwi.org. Thank you all for listening. Thanks to Colleen Maraca and Hannah Milos for producing and editing. Everyone keep her moving and watch for deer.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving. It's on Wisconsin, the Badgers say it's the old Wisconsin Jubilee.
You know, sometimes when you're ice fishing, you put your foot in the walleye hole and go ass over tea kettle and you think you're done. No, you gotta keep her moving.